Welcome to Formula Friday, your weekly Formula One show. I'm Nick, and I'm Nick. Lewis couldn't make it today, unfortunately. He's feeling a bit under the weather, so much like he did for me a couple weeks ago, we got a single seater. I can't guarantee it'll be as technically in depth and as fun as his, but I can try. I got a few tricks up my sleeve. Um, Now, normally, I know we usually do some banter back and forth. I'll just kind of do it myself, I guess. This week was pretty solid for me. I've transitioned out of chess mode completely into disc golf mode. I've been playing a lot of disc golf. I broke a personal record on a couple courses the last couple nice days we've had this week. Insane that I'm doing that and playing disc golf in March. I wanted to play today, didn't quite have the time, but that's fine because I have all year. Should be a pretty good season for that. Friday, my fiance and I are gonna go see monster trucks. That's cool. I've always wanted to see monster trucks, fulfilling a childhood dream. And of course, I'm gonna be watching the race. I don't know if I'll stay up until 2 a.m. or whatever time it is for us in the good old Midwest Central Time, God's time, as I call it. It looks like the race will be on. Oh, midnight. Okay, well, maybe I'll hold off until midnight and stay up until 2 to watch the entirety of the race. But with that, let's get into the news of the week before we fully fully dive into previewing Japan. Now, Lewis isn't here today, but he did provide me some takes on some of our various things that we're going to talk about. But the fun thing is, he has them highlighted or blacked out, so I won't actually see what his takes or thoughts are on these things until I physically do it. So we'll just kind of do a back and forth thing. It's like Lewis is here, except it's just me talking to myself like a very normal, sane human person. So let's jump into it with Fernando Alonso. He's a daddy. Look at him. Now, this is unfortunately not my own work. I wish I could have done this, but some random person on Twitter did this, and Fernando Alonso will be missing Thursday, FP1, because of the birth of his first child with his partner. I am so happy for Daddy Fernando. He's old and he's starting a family, and I wonder if this could kind of be another reason for him to not want to continue his F1 career, siring a child. I I mean, other than driving the Aston Martin super bad massage machine 2000, I can seriously see having a newborn and not wanting to be in this sport anymore. Because I mean, it is dangerous, and the older you get, the harder it is to maintain the level of athleticism that you've had forever. And it's just, I would imagine, more dangerous the older you get to do Formula One. So, congrats on Fernando Alonso and his tiny little child. Jack Crawford will be stepping in, and honestly, depending on how this goes, there's a chance, speculative chance, we could be seeing Jack Crawford, the next American, stepping up and going into Formula One and racing in Fernando's stead in Japan. Unfortunately, I would not want to wish driving that Aston Martin on anybody, even if it is Jack Crawford. But hey, everybody needs to get their start somewhere, I guess. So good luck, Jack Crawford. You're gonna need it. Lewis's take on all of this. Wait, has he shown up to a race yet this year? Obviously joking. Congrats to him. Wow. That is a very mean thing to say about Fernando. It's not his fault that his car is garbage. It's actually Adrian Newey's fault. And well, I guess it's not a problem anymore because Adrian Newey has stepped down as the team principal of Aston Martin to focus on the car design, which is the best possible thing I think he could have done. In his stead, Jonathan Wheatley is coming in from Audi. Yes, they have poached Jonathan Wheatley from Audi. Now, it seems like it was a pretty straightforward. Adrian Newey has understood what's happening, and he even suggested Jonathan Wheatley, which Watley, I want to say Wheatley, but either way, he suggested that he actually comes in, and clearly, whatever as bad as Aston is right now, it is not worse than whatever's happening at Audi, which makes me a little concerned because I didn't think Audi has looked bad so far, but whatever is happening behind the scenes at Audi to want for Watley to want to come in. And I mean, it is kind of a no lose scenario for Watley too, because we all know how much of a dumpster fire train wreck that Aston is. So basically, whatever Watley does coming in will just make him look great. Any tiniest modicum of improvement at Aston, because they're already at maybe rock bottom now, would reflect great onto him. So you know what? I take back what I said. I think that mean, take back. I don't remember saying anything I need to take back. I think this is a good call. It gives Nui a chance to really get into the uh, bones of this monster that he has designed, and it will take away from his other. It'll take his focus away from the other. Not take it away from. It will allow him to laser his focus into the car instead of having it spread among all of his other duties he had as TP. And this was a concern that I did have at the beginning of the season, when Lewis and I had our show in the preseason. I wondered if Nui's role as TP was going to take away from the car design and kind of maybe have too many fingers and too many pies. And I mean, it kind of seems like I got my answer of that pretty quick. This did happen really fast, so I wonder if Nui himself was like, "Listen, I need to focus up here." And this was kind of Aston's last chance to really buckle down and figure out the car because they have their first set of upgrades coming into Japan. And I mean, it was to the point where if these upgrades didn't work, then they were kind of boned. So Nui deciding to dedicate his entire focus on this Aston means either they are going to turn it around and be mid by the end of the year, or Nui is going to work some weird devil magic and he is going to figure something out, and it is going to be kind of scary. Going back to Lewis's thoughts, he's kind of echoing what I said. This is awesome for the team. I think this is the best move. They bring in a great TP and Nui can focus on what he loves. Exactly. This it's cool that Nui got the opportunity to have this role, but we all have our strengths and weaknesses, right? And Nui's strengths are making championship winning cars. And for whatever reason, it just wasn't happening here, but yeah, we'll see. We did get a statement from Lawrence Stroll about this whole situation. I'm just going to read his quote verbatim. With the current speculation surrounding Adrian Newey's role in our team, I want to take this opportunity to set the record straight. As executive chairman and controlling shareholder, I would like to reaffirm that Adrian Newey is my partner and an important shareholder. He is AMR's managing technical partner, and he and I have had true partnership built on shared vision of success for the company. We do things differently here, and while we don't currently adopt the traditional team principal role that you see elsewhere, it is by design. As the most successful engineer in the history of the sport, Adrian's primary focus is on the strategic and technical leadership where he excels. He is supported by a highly skilled senior leadership team to deliver on all aspects of the business, both at the campus and trackside. We are regularly approached by senior executives of other teams who wish to join Aston Martin Aramco, but in keeping with our policy, we do not comment on rumor and speculation. Well, shortly after that came out is when we got the Jonathan Wheatley stuff. So, I mean, there's that. It was all really technical business speak, and that's all pretty run of the mill. It's basically saying a lot without saying anything at all, kind of stuff. We got our answer, and I only can imagine things will go really well for, well, really well. I imagine things will be better for Aston than they have been, which is not a very high bar to clear, but hey, it's better than nothing. Moving on, we got a few special paint jobs and liveries coming into this weekend. One of them is Haas, the HAAS-ZILLA, as I'm dubbing it. I like it. I like it a lot. It's fun, but it's not overbearing. It's not like the Red Bull Star Wars car from 2005. It still has the design principles of the Haas, but you get a fun little Godzilla. Look at him. It's just Godzilla. It's got the Godzilla logo in the bottom left, and he's just blowing his fire. And the way they use kind of this silhouette of Godzilla, it obviously still goes with the colors of the Haas overall and the main design principles of the Haas. I like it a lot. It looks pretty freaking sick, and I do appreciate that it is a full design. They have taken the time and they've really tried to make it look both the Toyota Gazoo, Haas, and Godzilla all marrying together in a beautiful, beautiful, perfect kind of man. The more I look at it, the more I just really like that. I might want to try to find a diecast or something of that at some point. It's really cool. V-Carb is also doing something. It's cherry blossom inspired, but it's mostly just cherry red. I like that shade of red. It's kind of this glossy, deep candy red with their white, and it complements the V-Carb really well, the design of everything. And they've got some kanji right there with the ghosted out Cash App and more kanji over by the Red Bull. It's a solid livery. I like it a lot. I don't like it as much as the Haas, but I do think that it is a good livery. It's a solid livery to bring into Japan. And then we got Mercedes. Now, the biggest thing that Mercedes is doing is this really cool wolf or dragon design on the front wing. I like it a lot. A lot of people are making fun of it, but I think it's a cool vibe. It's got kind of that Japanese traditional streetwear yakuza tattoo vibe style to it. I think it's sick. I don't think they're doing much else with the car, but if we get this cool wing here, I'm fine with that because I want to see more teams focus on doing things just on the wing because I mean you got a bunch of space there and if you can figure out a way to incorporate it, why the hell not? Lewis has some takes on all of these. His thoughts on the Godzilla car are definitely not in line with mine. He says it's not bad, it just seems weird. He's not a huge fan, but he doesn't overly hate it, so that's something, I guess. As far as the as far as his thoughts on the Merc, he says this is what the Haas should have looked like. I'm not exactly sure what he means by that, but I mean, I'm fine with the Haas, or I'm fine with the Merc. I really like that design on the front wing. I like that traditional Japanese style with that modern streetwear kind of look. And with the V carb, I have a feeling is going to be a homer. Yep. OMG, 10 out of 10 no notes. This is beautiful. I love everything about this car. I love the white and red. I love it so much. I have a feeling that some of this is a little tinted by his V carb fandom. But hey, whatever works. It's cool. It looks good. I like it a lot. Now, some technical issues that have been happening. I'm not talking about Merc yet, but we will. Williams is continuing to suffer. They are putting up with this thing that they're calling three wheeling, which is basically exactly what it sounds like. The way they're turning the car, the way the car corners, it's basically putting one tire up in the air at a time, which, as you can imagine, is terrible for traction, especially in a sport where you need a lot of traction. I need them to figure out what the hell they're doing because Lewis and I have both said this. Williams has seemed like they were starting to really get their stuff together and finally breaking out of the shadow of Mercedes. They were finally starting to come back and become their own team again, like they have been historically, and a great team at that. But all of these weird technical issues they've had, as far as like being overweight and now the three wheeling, it's making me a little nervous for Williams and their future. It feels a lot like they were figuring it out toward the end of the last regulation, and then the new regulation happened, and they're kind of caught with their pants down for some reason. I'm confident that they'll figure it out, but will they figure it out fast enough by the next regulation cycle or by the time like they figure this out and then other teams have already found 5 or 6 other things that make them faster? I'm worried that Williams is going to kind of be on the back foot for this entire regulation cycle and I don't want them to be because I very much want Williams to return back to form, back to what they were because they were an incredible team and they deserve to be competing up there with Ferrari and McLaren, and I'll even say Mercedes is the new blood. Williams is very much a blue blood of the sport, and it kind of sucks to see them go this way. Eh. Other upgrades happening. Cadillac is going to have their first set of upgrades in Japan as well. Not exactly sure what it'll look like, but I'm sure we'll see it on track. McLaren is also going to have upgrades, but they are coming in Miami. Lewis wants and hurtful Lewis. You didn't have to say that at all about my favorite team, but whatever. Other bit of news, Chinese manufacturer BYD is reportedly looking into taking over Alpine and joining Formula One. It would be interesting. BYD's China's electric car company. It's interesting to have an electric car manufacturer in Formula One when something like Formula E exists. It feels like it would be more at home there. But I mean, I guess it feels counterintuitive, doesn't it? We're an electric car manufacturer based in China. We want to market our electric cars by going into a sport that has hybrid cars, but the focus is very much not on electric cars, even though there's an entire Formula series based on electric cars. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but I'm always down for more teams. I don't know if Alpine, I mean, I guess I don't know the details. I mean, everybody has a price, I guess. But Alpine seems like that they're starting to do a little better to or a little better in terms of the car and I mean the engine. I'm sure the Mercedes engine is helping them a lot, especially compared to their old Alpine engine. But if um if Alpine continues this upward kind I'm gonna call it an upward trajectory that we've been seeing in the first couple rounds of the season, then I can't imagine that they would want to get rid of their Alpine team because, I mean, Alpine is also classic in the sport at this point. It's not I'm not gonna say they're a blue blood, but Alpine is I mean, it is a major name and a major player in the sport, so it would be interesting if this electric car manufacturer from China comes into Formula One and in a space where it's not primarily electric, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And if it would overtake Alpine, which seems to be on an upward slide. Now, Lewis in the chat says if China comes into F1, does that mean Zhou will be back driving? That would be interesting because I did like Zhou Guan Yu a lot. I don't think he was an incredible driver, but he for sure deserved to be there. I believe he is still a reserve driver for Ferrari, maybe? I don't know off the top of my head, but I mean, I like Zhou a lot. Zhou Guanyu is a solid driver, and what he was able to do with that kick Sauber was really, really cool. And I wish he was still a primary driver, but whatever. We'll see. It'd be interesting to kind of keep an eye on and look into. Now, the biggest thing happening right now is Mercedes. They are being investigated both their engine and their front wing. Now, their engine is a classic compression, whatever. They're being looked into. It's being monitored throughout the course of this race. The front wing thing is new. Somebody, well, a lot of somebodies have been bringing it up on social media and wherever about Mercedes wing. And I'm just going to read this Twitter thread from Alex Gillen. He is a racing content creator, big F1 fan, and he's created sites like whenisf1on.com and his Maldonado crashed today, which is hilarious. At Alex Gillen, Gillon on Twitter. All of this is his. I'm just going to regurgitate it because he has done the best explanation of this that I've seen, and it's really interesting. So here we go, just starting this thread. There are serious doubts about the legality of the Mercedes front wing ahead of the Japanese Grand Prix. So let's have a look at what the rulebook says. The front wing has a measure as was measured as taking 733 milliseconds to close during the Chinese Grand Prix, which is way outside the maximum permitted 400 milliseconds. Not to mention the requirement for there to be only two fixed positions for the wings. Feels pretty cut and dry. The loophole that Mercedes are trying to take advantage of is that this is all measured by position sensors in the actuators, which is do close within likely to close within 400 milliseconds. And this is kind of where he lost me too, but then Alex, incredible human being, goes on and provides this incredible example. Think of it like soft close cupboards in your kitchen. You actuate close the cupboard immediately, but it takes a few seconds for the cupboard to finish closing all the way. I also kind of like a screen door if I want to interject my own here, but I think his cupboard thing is very apt. The wings are also only allowed to be in a state of deployment when they are inside the activation zone, which tend to end in the braking zone for each corner. If the Mercedes wings are not back in the same corner mode position before the zone ends, they could be illegal. But even if you say that the actuation is complete within the allowed time and all of the above is irrelevant because of that, there's still a few rules they could fall foul of. Another rule stating that adjustment not controlled by the ECU, so would be unaffected by the actuator closing fast enough, is only allowed when the car is stationary and by use of a tool. There's obviously no tool being used, and the car is clearly not stationary. So the rule could land them in hot water even if the actuator does close within the allotted time. And then there's also a different rule that states that bodywork must be immobile relative to their defined frame of reference. Basically, Alex goes on to say, to close this all up, is even if Mercedes is successfully able to argue that their car is passing some or part of the rules, they would still be illegal by another part. And that's kind of a lot. It is a lot, and it's listen, one of the things I love the most about this sport is Cadillac. That's right. Going back to the Joe thing. Of course, he's a reserve for Cadillac. I forgot about that. Anyway, going back to this Mercedes thing. Um, this sport is built around finding loopholes and finding loopholes that make you faster, and then those loopholes are incorporated by other teams, and that's just the regulation cycle to the point where the fun is regulated out of the sport. I am It would make a lot of sense. The slight milliseconds add up over the course of a 2-hour race, and Mercedes is incredibly fast. And I know that everybody is always doing everything they can to try to find problems with leading cars because I'm a McLaren fan and there was that whole thing with the flexi wing last season. So I'm fine with the FIA looking at this and investigating this. At the end of the day, if they are found clear and loophole free, then that's just the sport. That's how it is. Mercedes found a fun trick and everybody else needs to catch up. Now, if they are found to have broken the rules, I don't really know what would happen if they are going to get their wins and positions taken away from them retroactively, or if it's just kind of the well, you got us, but you have to fix it now. I don't know how big of an advantage that this front wing potential alleged front wing trick is giving Mercedes. I can kind of see the FIA going both ways with this. Like going back to McLaren last season, obviously they didn't do that with the flexi wing. That would have been insane. I'm not a Mercedes fan, but I guess I'm kind of landing in the same pot of they're not going to take away their other results. That would be insane, especially since there's only been two. A tiny bit chaotic side of me does want them to get their other finishes stripped away from them just for the chaos of it would mean that Lewis Hamilton did actually win a race and it was for Ferrari, but he didn't really win the race and it wasn't on the track. I would hate that for the record. I want to see Lewis win on the track, but I think it would be funny and kind of dumb. And that's where I'm landing with all of that. Oh, that's all the news and stuff out of the way. Let's move on to our preview of Japan. This race sucked last year. I hated watching this race and nothing happened. Max finished first. Woo! Lando second. That was cool. Oscar third. Also cool. Shout out McLaren. They were really good last year. Now they kind of suck so far because only one of them has done one race. It was the 64th win for Max Verstappen. But Kimi Antonelli did get his first fastest lap, and it was Charles Leclerc's 150th Grand Prix. Now, how it all shook out, nothing happened. This was the peak of nothing happening in a race. It was insane. People have called Suzuka basically other Monaco for a while now with how the old regulations were. And I'm inclined, I mean, I agree with those people. The racing at Suzuka has basically just been a parade forever. And a lot of it has to do with the size of the cars and how hard it is to pass. But a track like Suzuka should not be hard to pass in. It should be tricky and it should be difficult, but it shouldn't be 53 laps of everybody. Max Verstappen led the entire race. It was between Max and Kimi leading the entire race last year, and it was just, ugh, it was just gross. Kimi led one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, 8, 9, 10, like 11 of those laps. Otherwise, it was mostly Max. There wasn't really a lot of battling happening in the rest of the field. It was one of those where you started is where you finished kind of races, like literally the top six. Max, Lando, Oscar, Charles, George, Kimmy. Like that's how it happened. That's how it shook out. Isaac Hadjar had a pretty solid race here. He finished in the top 10 in the V carb. Alex Albon had a really solid race, but again, he finished where he started. Everybody finished basically where they started, and that is my least favorite type of race. It's I think that the real test for this new regulation of car is actually going to come at Suzuka because I think China was kind of a good um, potential microcosm of what a normal race weekend would look like. Suzuka, we know that Suzuka doesn't have great racing, but if we could get just a little better racing than we have over the last few years, then I will consider this regulation a success. This year of the regulation, because we know by next year teams are gonna find a way to make it suck. But I believe that if this regulation can lead to a little more passing and a little more shuffling of the start of the race to the end of the race, I think it's great. That's all I got to say about this. Suzuka has traditionally been good, lately been a tough race to watch. And if I'm going to be up at midnight and staying up until 2 a.m., I want to watch something entertaining to keep me awake. Lewis's take on this is hopefully Red Bull can actually figure their stuff out and finish this race. If I were to bet, it would be on Mercedes, but hopefully I'm wrong. That's kind of where everything's landing right now, isn't it? Now, it's funny to talk about Red Bull in a way as if they are some scrappy underdog, but they kind of are scrappy. It's so weird to say. It's so hard for me to even say it. Red Bull's in a really weird spot right now, and if they can get both cars to finish the race, I would consider that a success for them. Max is obviously been racing still, like he's just done the Nordschleife and all of that. But at the end of the day, I just want to see solid racing and I want to see multiple lead changes and I don't want the end of the race to look like the start of the race. That's my Japan preview. Moving on to the grid gamble. I am once again at my rightful place in first, leading Lewis. Last the last round for grid gamble, we rolled. Lewis got Fernando Alonso for China. He chose Fernando Alonso. He rolled for Aston. I rolled Williams and I chose Carlos Sainz. And that Carlos Sainz pick has netted me a cool 2 points. So I now lead grid gamble 2-0. And keeping up with tradition, since I am now leading, I will roll for Lewis and give him first roll. Now, I did talk with Lewis earlier, and I asked if he had anybody specific that he wanted if I did roll on them, and he said no. But I also told Lewis that whatever team he does land on, I will get him that best possible driver for that team. So I'm not just screwing him over, right? It's not his fault he's sick. I will try for Lewis. So we're going to roll the formula dice. And here we go. Lewis is going to roll. You know what? I'm going to be nice. It rolled 7 for Aston Martin again. I'm going to re-roll that for you, Lewis, because nobody should have to pick Aston. If it lands on Aston again, then that's just fate. But I'm giving you a re-roll. That's fine. I'm fine setting that precedent. 3, Red Bull. This is a hard one because, like, it should be Max. You know what? Screw it. Max. Isaac has been doing really well though, but Red Bull's kind of tricky. I will give Lewis Max Verstappen though. I hope he's fine with that. I hope you're okay with having Max Verstappen, Lewis. Okay. And now rolling for myself. 1, McLaren. Ooh, see, this is also tough because they haven't really been racing. I am going to go with Oscar here. I think Oscar looks a little. It's funny saying that because Oscar hasn't even started a race yet this season, but I'm going to go with Oscar. I think that Oscar has that hunger in him. I'm not saying Lando doesn't, but Oscar, based off of qualifying and the practicing that I've seen, seems to have it a little more than Lando currently in this point of the season. So I'm going to go Oscar. Lewis is going to have Max Verstappen, and we will see how this all plays out this weekend as they race in Japan. The short show today, obviously, it's a little harder to do without having Lewis to do the back and forth banter, but I have been Nick. Lewis is somewhere in the chat, hopefully sleeping, chugging some NyQuil. Get better for next week so we can talk about this. And until next time, we will preview the Japanese Grand Prix. Hopefully, it lives up to my expectations, at least, which is a little bit of passing and a little bit of shaking up from the start of the race to the end of the race. And then we're on a 5 week. The show isn't on a 5 week break, but Formula One's on a 5 week break. We're getting kind of a spring break in Formula One. So that'll be interesting, of course, because of the cancellations of Bahrain and Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Sorry, not cancellations, postponements. I need to make sure I get those words right. So